Welcome back to Portland. Today we are so excited about our next guest. A good friend of many Oregonians is back in town from his home in Uganda. Former Olympian Julius Achon, who also used to coach athletics at Nike. He's now an elected member of Uganda's parliament.
What a pleasure to have Julius in studio this morning, along with John Brandt, the author of a new book about his story called The Boy Who Runs, the Odyssey of Julius Achon, and we're going to chat with them in just a few minutes. But first, we want to bring Laurel Porter into this discussion because you came across Julius's story several years ago and have been involved with his charity now.
Well, he won my heart a long time ago, but first I have to say what a pleasure it is to be here with Kathy and Mackenzie on the Portland Today set. My first time on this couch.
Wow, and you wore the right blue. You wore the Portland Today blue.
Some great digs here, but I am really excited Julius and John are here today.
Yeah, how did you first meet Julius?
Well, I was reading a Runner's World article back in 2012, and I was riveted by this article talking about this boy who had been kidnapped by rebel soldiers in the Civil War in Uganda, forced to be a boy soldier, how he escaped. He became this champion runner, eventually came to the United States, went and ran the Olympics for 2 Olympics, then became a humanitarian, started his charity. Who is this young man? Well, it turns out he lived right here in Beaverton working at Nike, so of course I had to call him and see if he would do a story. He said yes, and we have been good friends ever since.
Now, getting to know him, what has surprised you about him personally?
Oh, his heart. He just has the biggest heart, and he casts a spell over everyone he meets. They want to be a part of the Achon Uganda Children's Fund. Let's take a look at a clip from a story that I did a few years ago about Julius Achon.
Julius Achon runs to remember and to forget. A life with more twists than turns on the track. A life that began in northern Uganda in the village of Awake, where for 21 years the people were afraid to sleep.
But when I go home, you're worried like the war maybe could come at night and wake you up. And then you have to run in the bush.
One night, the war did come, and Julius was kidnapped, forced to be a child soldier by this man, made famous in the video seen by tens of millions, Kony 2012.
Turning the girls into sex slaves and the boys into child soldiers.
Joseph Kony's rebel army, the LRA, took Julius and 14 other boys from their village.
I never thought I would get out because each time anybody tried to escape or sneak, they would kill you.
When Julius refused to kill, he was caned.
And very many kids just died.
Government planes came to fight the rebels, and Julius and the others saw their chance to run.
9 of my friends, they were just shot dead, and then 6 of us made it home.
Julius kept running.
Yeah.
From his past into his unlikely future.
And we'll continue that story in just a moment, but first let me introduce you to Julius Achon and John Brandt, the author of his book about Julius, The Boy Who Runs, the Odyssey of Julius Achon. Great to have you both here. Thank you for joining us. Julius, you just got back from Uganda a couple of days ago. How does it feel to be back in Oregon?
Well, it's like second home. I think these were the beginning of my dreams came true. I'm glad to be back in Portland, Oregon.
And it's still raining, probably the way it was when you left.
As usual, never stop.
And you're here for a charity event tomorrow for the Achon Uganda Children's Fund for the Christina House Center in your village of Awake. Why is that important to you?
Well, when we began this thing, at the beginning when I tell everyone like I wanted to open a health center was like no man's dream. But since 2012 when we began this health center, and a month ago, we opened a maternity wing, which about each and every day we are delivering babies. Like last night, just on the 18th, we had 3 babies were delivered out of nowhere.
But before this, your village is very remote and people come from all over. Before this, it was really difficult for people to get medical care before you built this center, right?
Yeah, it was very difficult. The nearest was like about 42 miles away, which you either walk or ride a bicycle. But now since this health center, which was being built, Christina Health Center, in the memory of my mom, I think has made a tremendous change for the community.
John Brandt, to pick up that story that we were watching after Julius escaped from the rebels, he went on to become a champion runner, then came to the United States. He was recruited by coaches, set an NCAA track record in the 800 meters that lasted 20 years, was just broken last year, went on to the Olympics. It's really, you capture it in this book, it's really the stuff of movies, isn't it?
It really is, and it's also a true odyssey. You know, the book is called The Boy Who Runs, the Odyssey of Julius Achon, and I think odyssey is a term that might be used loosely by a lot of people as a journey, but for Julius it really was an odyssey. It started in this tiny little village, and he had adventures and all kinds of terrible experiences, great experiences. It took him all around the world, but it all came back to this little village of Milwaukee, and so it's a perfect circle, which is, I think it's a great story. Great narrative.
And the Christina Health Center is named after your mom. That was really a pivotal moment for you. Julius's mom, Christina, was shot by rebels, and she slowly bled to death because she couldn't get medical care, and that's what motivated you to want to build this health center. Tell us a little bit more about that and how it motivated you to start this charity.
Well, what really motivated me, because when I look at my mom when she was shot, she bled 4 days without any help. There was no any medical health center at all. So when I made it to United States in Portland, Oregon, and then I had this dream, like if there was a health center, I think my mom could have survived. And I started like, let me build something in the memory of my mom. And you know, many majority of United States and Australia, they heard my voice. And we began this health center. In 2012, we opened this health center, started treating people. And I look at it this way, when I think deeper and deeper now, many babies being delivered, mothers no longer surviving. And I look at it like the strategy, whatever happened with my mom is not by mistake. I think it was God's plan to help other lives survive.
And you've honored her with the name. Just briefly, John, we don't have a lot of time left, but really you have said that this story is as much about Portland and Oregon as it is about Julius and Uganda. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think it's Julius' story is really a global odyssey, but to a great degree, I'm not sure it could have happened any place but here in Portland. And so many parts of this city and the area have been involved in the story. You know, from the high school kids that Julius coached and originally turned them on to Jim Fee and the whole family, and of course to Nike. All parts of Nike have been so instrumental, from the top to just all kinds of people working there. So it's a Portland story too.
And I know you'd like to take a moment just to thank the people of Oregon who've helped you.
Oh, well, I just want, tell everybody they are watching. I want to thank people of United States, of Oregon, Portland, coming to rescue people of my community, and the people of northern Uganda and Uganda as well. I want to thank them for their generosity, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow for the concert. And we still look forward to do greater and greater with the help of people of Portland, Oregon, and United States. Thank you all.
Achon, John Brandt, thank you for joining us. There is an event tomorrow if you'd like to come. I have a link to it on my KGW Facebook page. I also wrote a blog about Julius, and that whole story that we ran on KGW is there on my KGW Facebook page, and a link if you'd like to buy tickets to the event tomorrow at the World Forestry Center. Meet Julius and John at 6:30 tomorrow night. Thanks so much for being here. Kathy, back to you.
Oh, Laurel, I'm so glad Julius said yes when you contacted him and said, can I tell your story? Because the beginning of so many great things. Thanks to all you guys for bringing that story to us today.